I'm 74 years old. I've been living in a Ford F-150 for 6 years, 2 months, and 15 days. They say once you lose everything, you have nothing left to lose. That's a lie. I built the machines that ate my life. Addiction doesn't care how smart you are. It just feeds. If you're watching this, listen. Someone needs to witness this. And if you'd subscribe and comment, maybe someone like me might see it and pause and ask for help. Let me take you back. October 1998. Stella Towers was breaking ground on the Las Vegas Strip. I was standing in the construction site in a custom Armani suit. 37 stories, 1,200 units, $250 million in projected revenue, and I'd designed it. I could smell the diesel from the earth movers mixing with dust and concrete and sweat. This is what it means to create something that will outlast you, that will have a name. Stellar Towers, built by Marcus Webb. Every marriage proposal in those rooms, every child born there, every person who looked out at Las Vegas and felt small and big at the same time. It would all exist because I had the vision and the nerve to make it real. I would matter permanently. I had a key ring then, heavy, gold-plated, 7 keys. The Stella Towers key was the biggest. The mansion in Henderson. 2 investment properties in Arizona. That's how I thought about it. Not as properties, but as keys. As if by holding them, I was holding the shape of my entire world. Carol was in the social pages of the Las Vegas Sun twice a month. She wore dresses that cost what most people made in a month. We had 3 kids, Michael at UNLV, Emma, 16, competitive in volleyball, Daniel, 12, learning the family business. I'd take him to sites on Saturdays. He'd wear his little hard hat, and I'd point at the skyline and tell him, "That one we built." He believed everything we could see was ours. Carol used to say I smelled like Las Vegas. Not like perfume, but like the city itself. Like copper and steel and ambition running through those buildings. She'd pull me close and say, "You smell like success, Marcus." And I'd believe her. But there's always a crack in the foundation. Always. I was walking through the Stella Towers lobby 2 years after we broke ground and stopped at the high-stakes poker room. I'd never really gambled before. Investing is not gambling. Building requires calculation and due diligence, not a machine designed to take from you. But I watched high rollers move into a private poker room, and something in me wanted to understand what they understood. What made them comfortable with that kind of fire? So I went in, not to play, just to watch. The host knew me. I'd built this room. They offered me a drink. I watched these men play poker. Real estate developers, tech entrepreneurs. What struck me was how calm they were, how present, how utterly focused. There was nothing but the cards and the money and the moment. And I realized I haven't felt present like that in years, not since I was building something. I've been running on autopilot, but this was alive. I came back the next night. They asked me to play. $500. It was exciting in a way I hadn't felt in years. When I won, I felt something light up in my brain. The thrill wasn't about the money. It was about proving something, being quick enough, smart enough, lucky enough. Business required patience and planning. This was different, immediate, pure, perfect. And then I started to lose. A few thousand here, 5,000 there. But I was still making millions in real estate. Nevada was booming. So I'd lose 10,000 at poker and make it back closing a deal. Easy. The losses weren't really losses. They were just part of being in the room. Carol didn't know. She'd ask where I was, and I'd say I was reviewing permits or at a site meeting. The truth is, I was upstairs playing poker until 3 in the morning, chasing a feeling that got shorter each time. The first win might give me 40 minutes. By the fifth hand, I needed to win bigger to get the same 15 minutes. My brain was building a tolerance. I needed more, harder, faster. By 2004, I was playing almost every night. I'd book flights to Las Vegas on Wednesday afternoons and come back Thursday or Friday. Carol was starting to notice. I'd sometimes come home at dawn and she'd be awake, sitting in the kitchen with coffee she'd made at 4 in the morning, unable to sleep. She'd ask me if I was having an affair. I told her I was stressed about business, dealing with insomnia. Lies built on partial truths. She believed me because she wanted to, because the alternative was to believe the man she married was becoming someone else. The stakes got bigger. Comp dinners started. Lobster, prime rib, bottles of wine that cost more than my first car. I started playing $500 hands, then $1,000 hands. I won $52,000 on one hand. I walked to the bathroom and cried, not happy tears. Then I discovered the exclusive rooms. $30,000 hands. I lost $250,000 in 1 week in 2005. I told my accountant it was a bad investment. I opened shell companies. I lied to my accountant, to my wife, to myself, and called it stress management. In 2006, I lost nearly $2 million gambling. $2 million. That's a number that means something. That's not a loss. That's a hemorrhage. And I started to feel the weight of it. Not just the money, but the machinery I'd built to hide it. The shell companies, the false records, the elaborate architecture of deception. I was spending more time managing the lies than I was gambling. Carol was starting to ask real questions. She'd say, I got a call from the accountant. He said something about moving funds. What's happening? And I'd have to create explanations. I'd have to maintain a story that was already falling apart. I'd have to lie about the lies. Lie about the lies about the lies. And then the 2008 financial crisis happened. My accountant called and said, we have a problem. Those words. I will hear those words for the rest of my life. The real estate market collapsed. All those properties, their value evaporated. The mansion went from $5 million to underwater at 3.2. My development projects dried up. Nobody was building. Nobody was buying. The city that had made me just stopped. And suddenly the lies I'd been telling to cover my gambling losses collided with legitimate catastrophic financial losses. There was no way to separate them anymore. The money was gone. All of it. Carol found out. Not all of it at first, but enough. She found statements from one of the shell companies. She called me crying in a way I'd never heard before. Not angry, worse, devastated. She said, "Who are you?" And I couldn't answer because I didn't know. Sometime in the last 8 years, I'd become someone else. Something smaller and meaner and more desperate. She asked me to go to treatment. I refused. I told her it wasn't that bad. I told her it was under control. I told her I was handling it. All lies. Every single word was a lie. What I was actually doing was doubling down. When you're in a hole and you're afraid of what people will see when they look down into it, sometimes you just keep digging. Maybe if you dig deep enough, you'll reach somewhere else, somewhere safer, somewhere where the old story still makes sense. Michael was 24 by then, working in real estate like I'd pushed him to do. Emma was in college. Daniel was 18, and I was losing everything, catastrophically. I started missing mortgage payments, not because I couldn't afford them, but because I was taking every dollar and putting it back into gambling, chasing losses. That's what they call it. Trying to catch something you lost and pull it back before anyone notices it's gone. Carol left in 2009. She took Emma and Daniel with her. Michael stayed because he was an adult and because he was angry enough to think he could help. He couldn't. I was too far gone. Understanding would have required me to stop, and stopping would have meant facing the actual size of the hole I dug. I wasn't ready for that. The house foreclosed in 2010. The bank that I'd shaken hands with at charity galas, that had given me favorable rates because of who I was, that same bank took the keys back. I remember the day they changed the locks. I stood in the driveway, and there was a notice on the door. Someone else will live here. Someone else will swim in that pool. Someone else will sleep in the master bedroom, where Carol and I had fought about my gambling in the dark. Someone else will own the view I'd curated so carefully. And I'd be a ghost in this city that I'd built. Michael cut off contact in 2011. He said, "I can't watch this anymore. You need professional help." I told him he was abandoning me. He left. He didn't answer my calls. Emma sent a card on my 60th birthday. One card. Inside was a photo of her with 2 young kids, my grandchildren, who I'd never met. Just her signature. That was 8 years ago. I tried to rebuild. I went to a few Gamblers Anonymous meetings, but the meetings felt like they were asking me to become smaller, to accept that I'd been diminished. I couldn't accept that. So I didn't go back. I told myself I just needed one big win. That's the thing about addiction. It doesn't ask you to stop. It just asks you to wait. Wait for the next hand. Wait for luck to turn. And you wait, and you wait, until waiting is all you do. I lost the rest of the money. The investment properties, the commercial buildings, all of it. By 2015, I was officially bankrupt. I'd filed Chapter 7. I was living in a rented apartment off Flamingo Road, working part-time as a construction consultant, making maybe $35,000 a year. and I was still gambling. I was stealing from clients to fund my gambling, borrowing from loan sharks to cover my losses. I was so far below the surface that the light wasn't even a possibility anymore. Not a goal, not even a theory. And then in 2018, I couldn't afford the apartment anymore. My job was gone because I'd been stealing and I'd gotten caught. My credit was destroyed. Nobody would rent to me. Nobody would hire me. I had a truck, the Ford F-150, that I'd bought years ago for $100,000 as a status symbol, this beautiful red beast, and it was the only thing left. It was paid off. It was mine. So one day in September 2018, I packed up what I could carry, and I drove to the Walmart parking lot off Tropicana Avenue. And I parked in that lot. And I've been parking in that lot ever since, for 6 years, 2 months, 15 days, 6 years, 2 months, 15 days. I've watched the parking lot change seasons. Summer heat so intense, the steering wheel burns your hands. Winter cold, where you have to let the truck run just to keep from freezing. I've watched families load groceries into their SUVs. Young families, old families, families with kids who don't know how lucky they are to have someone to come home to. I've thought about Michael and Emma and Daniel, and I've realized that they're not my family anymore. That relationship ended when I chose the poker table over them. Not in one moment, but over 1,000 small moments where I chose the game instead. There's no apology big enough for that. There's no way to earn that back. That's just gone. Forever. I'm 74 years old, and my body is failing. Arterial disease. Blood pressure won't stay down. Diabetic neuropathy in my feet. At night, the pain feels like needles. I haven't seen a dentist in 5 years. 3 teeth are loose. My skin is deteriorated, like a building that's been abandoned. I'm a man whose body is outliving his purpose. There's nothing left to work for, just more pain, more days in the truck. Sometimes I'll be sitting in the truck at night and I'll take out the key ring, the gold-plated one, empty now, just 7 keyholes and nothing to put into them. I keep it in the glove compartment. I'll hold it and remember the weight when it held keys. The Stella Towers key was ornate and heavy. I'll remember what it felt like to be the man who had keys, to have claimed pieces of the world and called them mine. And then I'll put it back down and sit in the silence and realize that I'm going to die in this truck. Soon. The buildings I built will still be here. Stella Towers will still be here. My name won't be on them anymore, and I'll be gone. And nobody will connect the two things. The buildings and the man who built them will be 3 separate stories that have nothing to do with each other. I don't believe in happy endings anymore. I'm out of time. I've got maybe 5 years left, and in those 5 years, I'm not going to become someone different. I'm not going to stop thinking about the casinos and the tables. That pull is in me. It's in my cells. It's in my brain, rearranged by years of chasing that feeling. But I'm here. This is real. This is what the inside of that feels like. Not the movie version. Just the actual grinding reality of having destroyed your life. and waking up to that every morning with no way to undo it. I had a wife who loved me, 3 children who loved me. I had built things that still exist, and I traded all of it for a feeling that lasted 40 minutes. I traded it thousands of times, always thinking the next hand would be different. It never was. And I'm telling you this because maybe you needed to hear that this is possible, that it can happen to you, because the machine is built to take everything, your family, your home, the person you thought you were. And when you're sitting in a parking lot at 74 with nowhere to go, it's too late to unsee any of it. Stay with me here. Subscribe, comment, because you're witnessing someone telling the truth, and that matters. It matters that someone heard this, and maybe someone who's standing where I was standing will pause, will ask for help before they lose it all, will choose the family over the table, will choose the future over the feeling. That's all I can hope for. I can't be fixed, but you can. That's the difference. That's all I have left to say. And if you're listening at 3 in the morning in a casino, feeling that pull, that certainty that the next hand will fix everything, it won't. I promise you, it won't. Call someone before it's too late.